The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't clone you, but it can streamline your hiring workflow. From posting jobs to shortlisting candidates to interviewing, LinkedIn Hiring Pro is the hiring partner you need, so you can focus on connecting with the right talent. In fact, small businesses report saving over 6 hours per week. So hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from okay to very high. Know your sleep score with Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
Where is Daredevil? I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Who Will Be King, where the NFC North somehow gets more dysfunctional every single week. I'm Dave from Vikings First and Skull, and wow, SCOTUS just told the NFL to kick rocks. So our guy, Brian Flores, gets to drag them into open court. That should be fun and revealing. Meanwhile, Josh Jacobs up in Packerland is collecting domestic abuse charges in Green Bay like they're Pokemon cards. Detroit's throwing $81 million at a linebacker like it's Black Friday. And the Bears' new stadium? Well, they're trying. That's all I can say. Strap in, North. This one's going to be messy. All next on the Fans First Sports Network's NFC North Roundup show. Who will be king? Begin. I wish to welcome my crew here from the NFC North. We have Foster in the middle from the Detroit Lions. How are things going in Detroit, Foster?
They're warm for the time being, but outside of that, we got a pretty crappy baseball team and a linebacker that's a little bit richer, as you already prefaced. But all in all, things are going well.
Okay, we'll get to that linebacker here in a bit. Pay, how are things in Chicago?
Chicago is great. It's summertime shy. Is when what's the old adage? The Phoenix rises from the sun or something like that. This is what Chicago does. It's finally warm in Chicago. Everybody's happy, and maybe, hopefully, something will come of this legislative series down there in Springfield to make Chicago even more joyous.
All right, let's open with that. The legislative time period ends here in a few days. Mm-hmm. So with that, I looked at a whole bunch of stuff and saw a quote in particular from Governor Pritzker saying, "I feel confident in our ability to ensure the Bears are in Illinois or possibly Indiana." So what does that say about the whole process of the Senate voting on the bill?
Pritzker said, or Indiana, or did you add that?
Or Indiana. No, that's direct from the Chicago Tribune.
I don't know if I heard that part. But in any case, yes, the legislative period ends Sunday. That is the 31st. They are working day and night to get that mega bills project pushed through the Senate. It will provide the Bears with a lot of tax certainty that all these rich people benefit off of, all the secret laws that none of us normal common folk get. They are working in the extra innings. There's still a baseball term. The Bears Kevin Warren, he was hired to do one thing and one thing only. That's to get this thing built. And I don't know if he's done a great job at this point. Like we said last week, the Bears are supposed to have some type of all the studies, all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted. And they came to the meeting last week and hadn't even done a traffic study for all of the traffic that you're going to add to Arlington Heights. Arlington Heights, for those who are not aware where the racetrack is, that is a very suburban area. That is not a downtownsy spot where that racetrack was. That is across the street. You have houses. You need to do what you got to do to make sure you can tell the local government that, okay, this is how much traffic we're going to put into this area. This is how much ingress and egress and any type of new roads that need to be built. Bears didn't do any of that. That's where they dropped the ball.
I heard Kevin Warren objected and said, no, I've got it right here. We've got it. We've done the IDOT.
He can say what he wants. What everybody else is reporting is that they ain't got it.
Interesting. Now, it does.
As far as Illinois, as far as Illinois got concerned, that docket, that was it, 300 pages of the bill that's out there that where they want the tax certainty. The Bears pay about $4 million a year on that property right now. They said, lock us into about 8 to 10 for the next 40. And, we'll play ball with you. That's about $1.5 billion over that the taxpayers got to eat over that same time period. So that is being debated down there in Springfield right now. Pritzker has said this whole time, his whole job is to protect the taxpayers, make sure they get the best deal end of this deal. Well, we got into Sunday to find out who's going to get the raw end.
Well, I saw that quote from Pritzker, and I understand that. But how much money is Arlington Heights and Chicago going to lose if the Bears move over across the border to Hammond?
Not a treasurer in my day job there, Dave, but I would assume, let's start with Arlington Heights. Arlington Heights will still be made full. The Bears own that property. The Bears still have to pay property taxes on that property while they're the owners.
Right.
They'll probably sell it at some point in the future, and they will still have to pay taxes on that sold venture. So Arlington Heights, they would lose nothing, so to speak. Now Chicago, maybe they'll lose some tourism dollars from the Bears, but Chicago, the Bears still do owe Chicago for all the renovations on Soldier Field that is still due. And there is still some taxes that they still pay as well for that. However, Chicago is Chicago. They're not going to lose much tourism dollars if the Bears go across the borders. I mean, Chicago wants to go across the border all the time to steal from Indiana. We go get our gas from Indiana. Go squares from Indiana. We go over Indiana to go to Indiana and get fireworks. Go to Indiana and go to the boat. That's the casino for those that don't know. I mean, a lot of money comes from Chicago, goes to Indiana. The Bears go over there. I mean, it's okay. Chicago will be fine.
Okay, I was just curious because that's one thing that the people should consider is how much new income is projected to come in versus how much potential new income is scheduled to come in. Minus that, obviously, because it won't be there. It's going to be interesting. I know the Indiana governor has talked about it. He's ready to move on to, move with the project and get everything going. But I also saw that if it goes to Indiana, the state of Indiana will own the stadium. Just like 31 teams, they own, they have some sort of governing board that owns the stadium. And I saw where people are saying, well, Chicago hasn't paid taxes on, Soldier Field. Well, doesn't Chicago pay rent to play in Soldier Field? And isn't part of that rent payment the taxes collected by the landlord?
Not necessarily. They have a unique situation. The Bears don't actually pay rent. Neither do the White Sox. They both pay in a locally owned space, right? Owned by the other friends of the park. They don't necessarily pay rent, so to speak, in the normal terms of what that means. There is a there's an agreement. There is when you pay a certain amount of taxes on your tickets, and then the teams do still collect revenue from other special events that has there, and there is an agreement there. So it's not necessarily, at the end on the first of the month every day. I mean, every first of the month, make sure you run us this. It's not in that same vein. However, I would think what you spoke of earlier, the taxes that the Bears owe on Soldier Field, it is still that same thing. The renovation price tag that the Bears did, ask for 20 years ago.
Right.
That's still money. That's still out there. And that's a part of these negotiations as well.
Now, if they go to Arlington Heights, will the team own the stadium, or will it be governed by some friends of the stadium group, something or other? Especially since it intends to be covered and be able to do all sorts of events year round.
The Bears will own all of those acres. They own it now. They own the plot of land. Now, if they get help in building some of that stuff, sure, and you'd probably pay that back in some other way. But no, the Bears will be complete owners of that land, of whatever they build, and they will get all the proceeds, all the revenue that comes off of that. Similar to what's going on over there at Wrigley Field. The owners of the Cubs, they bought the team, they bought the stadium, and they bought a whole bunch of land around it. The hotel across the street, the restaurants, all of that stuff, all going right into their pockets and into Trump's.
And just to think, I was going to bring up Jackson Dart later. But anyways, I find it interesting, the whole stadium issue, because I helped fight for Minnesota to get a new stadium years ago, and we did so successfully. But Minnesota owns U.S. Bank, not the Wilfs. The Wilfs own all the TCO training center and all the land around it, and the museum and the Omni Hotel and all the businesses, and they bought stuff around the stadium itself to own, but they don't own the stadium. And from what I gather, all but the Patriots are basically community owned. Now, I read where SoFi is a little bit of an exception to that, because Kroenke, who owns the Rams, bought supposedly the land that it's on. So, and it's interesting. We hope next week to have a decision whether you're going to be the Chicago Bears from Arlington Heights or the Hammond Huggables from Hammond, Indiana.
Also add in that another fun name that I've been dancing around because of the site in Indiana. That's kind of disgusting. Might want to call it the bubonic plague bears.
Okay, yeah, but the one thing that Indiana has to do is clean up the site, from what I gather.
You're going to spend more money? It's a lot of more millions.
Cost of doing business.
I don't know. That's where it gets funny.
Uh-huh. And if the Bears do go to Indiana, they're still going to be headquartered at Hallis Hall, from what I read, which is in Chicago.
Not really, but
Okay.
Close enough.
Close enough. It's in one of the burbs.
Yeah, where is that? Lake Forest?
Okay.
Like 30 minutes, right?
About that. Straight up, what's that, 94? Yeah, it's not far.
Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Foster, tell us about that extension that was issued.
Yeah, so the first news was that they were, whatever the verbiage is, but that they weren't picking up the 5th-year option on Jack Campbell. So initially there was some confusion or, concern about what does that mean? But ultimately they were able to agree to an extension for 4 years and $81 million, making Jack Campbell the second highest paid linebacker. He was pretty vocal about not wanting to he didn't want to set the new price. He just wanted to get it out of the way. He just he strikes me as somebody that's not trying to, he doesn't like all the glitz and glamour and look at me and, all that. He obviously knows that either way he was going to be set for life regardless. And actually, his teammate that is a year ahead of him, Tyler Lindenbaum, he he decided to wait it out and, bet on himself and was ultimately able to set the price for his position. They both obviously went to Iowa, but, Jack Campbell had, other ideas. He knew that he wanted to remain a Lion, and he's got an interesting, underdog story. There was a lot of scrutiny going into the draft. He was drafted 18th, and he was known as the worst draft pick out there. I remember Braylon Edwards, who is a former, played at Michigan, and he was somebody that was definitely very vocal about, oh, he's not fast enough. Oh, he's not this enough, all that, which, part of that was probably his Michigan bias towards an Iowa guy. But, he definitely had the E-Crow on that because Jack Campbell has definitely developed into one of the better linebackers in football right now. He credits a lot of that to his rookie year where a lot of linebackers on the team ahead of him were injured. So he was kind of thrown into the fire.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was thrown into the fire from day one. So he was able to learn a lot quick. And, ultimately, he's kind of had the keys for a little bit as far as running the defense. Obviously, Alex Anzalone is now with Tampa. So that really opened things up for him to be the captain and the guy calling the shots. So, he's definitely prepared for that. He's made a nice progression and, turned himself into, one of the better linebackers in football. And, he said he kept his receipts. A lot of people had a lot of naysayers. They asked him about, are you like Amon-Ra St. Brown? Everybody that was picked ahead of you. And it's like, not quite to that extent, although there probably weren't a lot of guys. I mean, he still was first round pick. So there weren't a whole lot of linebackers ahead of him. But, it's something that sticks with him, and it's going to keep him, it's going to help maintain his hunger, is that, they counted him out and said what he couldn't do, and he was able to defy the odds. So, yeah.
That's it. Well, I'm happy for you guys.
Big deal.
It should be interesting to see how they work the contract to see when the biggest money hits. I'm sure it's years out from now and you don't have to worry about it yet. Yeah. All right. So we've got Bears with their stadium talk. We have Jack Campbell getting extended. And Pay, you wanted me to talk about SCOTUS ruling.
Other than some other stuff that's going on in Wisconsin.
We'll get to that.
I feel like,
don't worry. We'll get to that.
I do feel like the Supreme Court has been very busy this year, and it just touched the NFL, Dave. I think this is a very, very, I don't want to use the word interesting, but it's a very important ruling that they came down with on the Brian Flores lawsuit yesterday.
And what happened is the Supreme Court turned away the NFL's petition for review, leaving in place the second U.S. District Court's ruling that Flores claims cannot be forced into the league's internal arbitration process, i.e. Roger Goodell, and it's got to go to court. Now, it's interesting to see Justice Brett Kavanaugh was a dissenter on this, which I found interesting. But the whole idea is that Brian Flores put a discrimination suit along with two other coaches, and it's been working its way through the system. Well, as of yesterday, once the Supreme Court says, no, you're going to go to court, Brian Flores added an additional charge to that as well. And it's going to, I'm betting it's going to figure on playing out over the next 3 to 5 years, because Brian Flores, his lawyer, subpoenaed last week 25 additional teams for doing the findings and all that sort of stuff, giving up their emails and all their stuff like that. And it's going to be basically Brian Flores versus 31 teams in the NFL. And then the other two guys are on there for the ride and support. So I'm finding it interesting. I think Brian Flores is going to be DC for Minnesota for at least the next few years, guaranteed, while this plays its way through the courts. which doesn't break my heart whatsoever. I get warm fuzzies over it. Anyway,
Yeah, I think it's something that's may not. I mean, financially, he'll probably gain something out of it, but I think this is a fight that's gonna help trickle down and help
people in
somebody
the
else
future.
down the line. Yeah, because him versus 31 teams still sounds like a uphill battle, like you said, next 3 to 5 years. So yeah, but it's important though.
Grandizer, I don't know if Wilkes started it or Wilkes jumped on the same time Flores started it, but it's Flores.
I believe Wilkes was a co.
But he's one of the co.
Yeah,
three of them.
He's in this lawsuit. You all believe that this is going to help down the line to somebody else? I don't. I have no faith in that. Rewind about 7-8 years. Colin Kaepernick sued the league. Same deal. They wanted to keep it in arbitration. Took it to the highest court. Kicked it back. Say nope, can't keep it in arbitration. And what do we get? A payoff.
Well, that's a way of settling it, and he accepted that. He could have pressed on.
Well, I mean, this is a civil lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
You sue somebody for remuneration. Give me my money back that you stole from me, basically. So, I mean, that's what you get out of civil
earnings, right? And then
so no, when I say that he took the payoff, I don't mean that as any slight towards Colin Kaepernick. You take somebody to court to get that bread, and he got the bread. And a lot of us was looking for us to like get into discovery, get them emails from Jerry Jones and some of the other ones. We wanted our pound of flesh. Brian Flores, he's been anti-settlement up to this point. If you say this is going to take about a few more years in discovery, I think the NFL is now mobilized to go ahead and up that dollar. We're going to find out, I mean, if Brian Flores has everybody has a price. We're going to find out what Brian Flores' price is.
He gets $1 billion offered to him, will he take it? That's a good question.
No, take the bread. You can start an organization and all type of things. You can start your own little league for a big enough payday. So, yeah, I mean.
Coaching football is fun, but, being a billionaire is more fun. I'd assume. I've dreamt about it. But.
I still think that the amount of hoopla and the amount of, I still think bringing certain things to the light has some impact. I mean, because this is more of it's not really so much about a why. I mean, he's suing them over discrimination towards himself. So, this is the bottom line for him should be the financial. And he's still employed, So by the time this all breaks down, he probably won't even care about coaching himself. But
I don't know.
Things
are still maybe I don't know. But certain things
Dave, you said
brought to the light.
You said in that in the new addendum that he the initial complaint that he added to this lawsuit is what is he claiming in that?
Don't remember off the top of my head.
League-wide retaliation.
Right. League-wide retaliation. You got it.
He's saying that, as you said, over the last 5 hiring cycles, that the only reason he's not a head coach is that they're retaliated against him, which we all know. We all know this part is true. They are retaliated against him because he's suing the league.
One of the best defensive coordinators in football. Obviously qualified. And he only gets 2 head coaching interviews, and they were pro forma this year, one between the Ravens and the Steelers, and it was just mark a checkbox saying, yeah, see, we're not discriminating. Exactly. We called you in.
On this very show, we all said, oh, yeah, Hafley, he's getting fired. Hafley is a head coach now. For those who don't keep up with all of the, assistants within this division, Hafley was the defensive coordinator for the Packers last year. We all said, oh, there's no way. This guy's getting fired. They're going to clean house. Terrible job to end the season. He got the Miami Dolphins job. Now, I'm not saying the Miami Dolphins job is a great job because they are definitely rebuilding, and it is where this all started as it relates to Flores. But if you can tell me that Halfley can get hired, but Brian Flores can't even get a third interview somewhere,
I think it's crazy. I don't believe in the fact that race takes a part. It shouldn't. It should be a meritocracy. And if you can coach football and do it well, you should get hired to replace somebody that did not do it well. Period. Always been that way. But hey, now people are telling me, yeah, but you remember how he did and behaved in Miami? I do.
I don't mean to dominate the mic here, no Diddy, but since everything that's happened since his time in Miami, wasn't he right? I mean, Tua did suck.
He did. And there's a quarterback battle in Atlanta now because Tua's moved over to Atlanta.
Feel like he's been vindicated at least. Tua's garbage.
It's just panic.
Left hand quarterbacks. Why they got a monopoly on left hand quarterbacks in Atlanta? They're gonna be terrible. It's gonna be funny.
I want to thank the guys that are in the chat. We got Broski Bear, we got Grandizer, Doc Proto's in the house. We have T-Bass. Good to see you again, T-Bass. We got Tim Lyons is here, Bob Swede. Hi, Bob. And I think that's just about everybody that's piped up. Norsefius is here. He's taking a break to watch. That's great for Norsefius. Daniel's here. You guys are always, always welcome, even when we're talking non-football issues like stadiums and Brian Flores' lawsuit and stuff like that. It's not directly related. But we'll get to directly related after the break. So get your Garrett's popcorn ready and join us after we come back. We have one more non-football item to discuss. And this happens up from, for me, the team to the east. For Pay, the team to the north. For Foster, the team to the west, i.e. the middleman.
Canada.
Josh Jacobs was arrested and charged with 5 counts, and they're serious counts. Now, 4 of them are, quote, misdemeanors, but 1 is a felony, misdemeanors. Yeah. It's interesting that Mr. Jacobs, and I will go over the timeline of what happened here. On May 23rd at 8:37 a.m., Hobart, Lawrence, where Green Bay is, police department officers were dispatched to a disturbance complaint involving Josh Jacobs. The exact nature of the call has been elaborated on, and it was beyond a disturbance. On May 26th, news broke via The Athletic that he had been arrested. Tom Pelissero also broke it as well. The 5 charges include intimidation of a victim, misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, domestic abuse, misdemeanor, criminal damage to property, domestic abuse, a misdemeanor, battery, domestic abuse, a misdemeanor. Boy, there's a whole lot of domestic abuse in here. And strangulation and suffocation. That's the felony. That's what could put him in jail for quite a while. But I want to state emphatically, he is innocent until proven guilty. Could it be that his supposed girlfriend that this happened to made up these charges? I have no idea. His lawyers, in a statement, claim it's absolutely, positively no way did this happen. So it's going to have to be resolved in court. Now, originally he was held for a while. He has been given bond. and he's out. But it's not the sort of thing, I would think, that if you're Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur, that you want to have to answer a phone call for. Hey, you got any observations on this?
The Packers have been losers for 171 days, guys. 171 days. And it's 109 days until they start the season 0-1. It is amazing to me that the lengths a Packer will go to finally beat somebody.
Oh, my God.
It is appalling. You know, the old adage is the offseason doesn't really start until an NFL player is arrested for DV. We need to get out of this. We got to stop this. Now, you did say, he was bonded out. Clarification, they didn't charge him. He was released pending further investigation to which there could be charges. So you can look into that any other way. One, they're BS charges. They're all baloney. The one felony and the 4 Missy Elliott's. You can look at it that way. Yeah, misdemeanor Elliott. You got it. We can look at it that way, Dave. You said it correctly. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. That is still the law of the land, even though laws barely mean anything anymore in this land. But if you just go back into the Stephon Diggs case, just not too long ago, well, as soon as you got that in court, everything fell apart. Like, okay, this was a waste of everybody's time. So while it doesn't sound good for Josh Jacobs, and this is his second time being arrested, we are still going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, he got pulled up on some other charges while he was still out there. But he still playing in Oakland? I think he was still playing in Oakland at the time. Well, one of the when he was a Raider, when where being a vagrant was cool. Now, that's one way to look at it. He is innocent until proven guilty. Now, another way you can look at it is we all know Wisconsin is, Green Bay is the only thing keeps the lights on in that place. Maybe they're doing a football player solid. I don't want to besmirch any law enforcement out there. I've never been to Hobart County or wherever this place is. I never hoped to ever be there and, driving down a dark road and they say, hey, I saw you on that show and you was talking bad about us. I don't want it. That's not me. I don't want to do that. But I will say, them being chicken shits and not having to talk about this during the media today, that's another L, double L for the Packers today.
What Pay is referring to is the Packers did have scheduled for interviews for all the players after OTAs today, and then they told the press, nope, no interviews today. Sorry. Because they don't want to answer questions about it.
Good idea.
Foster, you got anything to add?
Yeah, that's a tough one to follow up on. But I will say this, he vehemently denies this, and I want to believe that it's not real. There's something right that didn't happen. But you see situations like this far too often as far as the NFL is concerned, and one is too many. But for me, when I really think about it, it's like when you think about NFL players and how physical and strong, like it's kind of messed up to think about the fact that they would go to the lengths of alleged putting their hands on a woman. Not that any man should, but it's just messed up to think about that somebody that has the capability to do such damage to another physically imposing person to think that that could happen to a loved one of theirs. It just kind of messed up to think about. But we say this, we speak on the topic with a bit of comedy, but obviously this is something that's that none of us agree to, or but yeah, it's just kind of messed up, and it's something that floats around within sports, and it's not a good look in general. And Packers, the Packers got enough stuff going on with the with one of the best players, Parsons, being out for some time. So if Jacobs is amongst that same cloth of top Packer talent, it could be spooky for them, speaking on the field aspect.
I've already seen tweets about trading for certain people so they could keep their, quote, Super Bowl window open because Brian Gutekunst changed his draft strategy. Instead of building for the future, he's building for a Super Bowl now.
Trading for who with what?
Right.
Kamara is one name I saw.
Yeah, fine. I support that. In fact, no, do not bring Kamara to this division. That would make me so mad. That would make the Packers invincible. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
I detect a little sarcasm there.
It's washed, bro. Bring him through. Run him through the dryer.
But it is what it is. Now, in other Packers news, they did start OTAs this week, just like everybody else. And it's going to be interesting to see who gets jobs up there in Green Bay and who gets hurt early, I would think. But that goes across the board for every team in the division. Now, with OTAs starting, I'll hop over to my team real quick. Looks like we have an actual QB battle between J.J. McCarthy and the wee widow one, Kyler Murray. We've gone through 2 days. Both gentlemen have been out there. J.J. McCarthy has taken reps with the ones. Kyler Murray's taken reps with the twos. Makes sense to me. We're early. Kyler Murray's got to learn the offense, all that sort of stuff. JJ's got a leg up on him on that. Probably a couple feet as well. But today after practice, they both were available for interviews.
Huh.
Do you think they stood next to each other and answered questions? No, they were apart from each other, and the press had to go back and forth to answer questions.
Had he played from the Vikings to make them both available at the same time? I like their game.
It's just it was definitely interesting. Now, Alec Lewis of the New York Times, The Athletic, talked about how each was asked, what does it, like to be in the same room? And J.J. McCarthy says it's no different than high school. He sits over there, I sit over here, and the coaches teach us. And that's not verbatim, but it's close. And so they asked that of Kyler Murray, too, the wee little one. And he says, well, it's nice to be here to help J.J. McCarthy. He's young, developing, and I will give him instructions, sort of deal. And I'm paraphrasing both. But that's it's not a friendly competition is what we're getting as Vikings fans. It does not look friendly whatsoever. Now, got a good report from one of the guys I follow, Brevsky, who said, this may be what the Vikings intended for J.J. McCarthy, to give him a fire under his backside to improve. And J.J. talked about he wants to improve on the last quarter of the season where he was improving. There's been film clips of both of them throwing the ball, and the wee widow one has the leg kick like a pitcher, the same leg kick that J.J. McCarthy got hammered for last year. And now J.J. McCarthy is not kicking out that leg when he drives for a pass. It's interesting to see. Now, did J.J. McCarthy during last preseason kick out his leg? We got to go back and look. Or was that a game time thing? I don't know. There's talk, Kyler Murray's a top 12 quarterback, top 10 in circumstances, blah, blah, blah. But he's had tons of injuries, and he's been around crappy teams, crappy support. He's now come to a team with beautiful weapons. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, even though TJ still jumps to catch the football. You got Aaron Jones as a running back. You got a decent offensive line. He should succeed in this KOC offense. But will he? Then you have J.J. McCarthy, who had a miserable year last year. He was improving towards the end, but he dealt with injuries. Well, both of them deal with injuries. They've got a whole history of injuries. So it's going to be interesting how this works out. I suspect we'll see J.J. McCarthy taking reps with the ones. When it comes to July, end of July, when we go to training camp, let's see who's taking the reps with the ones.
I got a question. Paint the picture of where the kick is on the throw, on the follow through, or where's
it's
the
on
kick?
the follow through. It's
Gotcha.
like you've seen a pitcher throw the ball. Obviously, you track your Tigers, and when a pitcher comes through on the ball, his back leg kicks over and comes through.
Okay.
That's the same thing with a quarterback. Quarterback does it, winds up, throws the ball, steps off that back foot, throws the ball. It's his back foot that comes up and kicks forward.
And does that display a lack of balance, or
it can cause the ball to be off target?
Gotcha.
Quarterback coaches want you to keep that drive foot on the ground for as long as possible. It's going to come off eventually, but they want to keep it on the ground as long as possible. I find it interesting. It's sucked up all the other news from OTAs. There's, a few other guys that are looking good. We've got Demings is standing out. But we're only 2 days in. And it's phase 2. They can't touch each other yet. And Tim says, I just hope for Jetta's sake, they find a QB and you're not wasting his talent. Yeah, I agree, Tim. I agree wholeheartedly. But T-Bass saying JJ is much better isn't saying much. Yes, T-Bass, you're right. But he's only played 10 games.
That's the best possible scenario, is JJ been better.
Is
there any notable, people that's not in attendance?
No, we got everybody.
Okay.
There's questions about Justin Jefferson not being there, but he was there this morning.
It would help if everybody's on the same page when it comes to passing and catching.
Yes, it would. And he can't work on chemistry with Justin Jefferson if he's not catching balls from you.
And we saw that a lot last year.
I know.
With your quarterback.
And J.J. McCarthy and Justin Jefferson have thrown balls in the offseason together. There hadn't been any times where we've seen that we would have won in Justin Jefferson throwing balls. We've seen him with Jordan Addison, but not the other one. Chevy asked about Hitman is. I'm betting he's coming back, but it's going to be a post-June 1st decision.
Take your time.
What that means.
He doesn't need to be there. He's an aged vet, so who cares?
Yeah, he knows plays.
Profound.
T-Bass, love your observations.
Well, I mean, there's JJ, and then there's 9.
9, yes. And I agree. 9 is, you don't need to be the alter ego. You don't need to be, I'm 9.
Just get the ball to JJ.
9 is the guy from all the memes.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get JJ better.
But he started that after we beat your butt last season.
A lot of good he did.
Fourth quarter, comeback. The few games that you did not have a comeback in.
Yeah. You know what? We were winning that game.
You were. Now, speaking of which, I'm going off topic. I was listening to a podcast and they talked about the over-unders for wins. Foster's team, the Lions, are projected to win the division. I can see that. And then came, I want to say, the Packers, and then the Bears, and then the Vikings. Vikings were the lowest at 8.5. What I heard was it is possible that the Vikings win the division this year, and it's quite possible if everything works out. That goes for everybody. and gets the over, and then the other 3 teams get the under. Do you think you're going to hit the under? Pay. They talked about all your one-score games. Do you think you're going to be as lucky this year?
What's the what was our number?
I think yours was 9.5.
Going under 9.5. Hard for me to believe that they fall off a cliff that far. Interesting. You said the Packers were what? I'm assuming 10.5.
I thought Foster was 10.5. I think the Packers were like 9.5 or 10, somewhere in there. Could be the same.
All right. Which book was this? Where did you see this?
It was just, I heard it on the podcast.
I've seen the Lions projected at 11.5. I've seen that a few places. This is the first time I'm ever hearing anybody say the Packers are coming in second. Well, whatever their number is. I haven't heard that anywhere or seen that anywhere else.
They can finish third. Hopefully they finish last.
Yeah.
Everybody gets
keep it bear centric. Coming under 9.5. Not only would that be unacceptable, I can't see too many. I mean, it's football. And the football guys smile at you, then they frown at you. I mean, everything can start here, and then do a 180 the year after. We're gonna have a whole bunch of injury issues, and it could be some regression. Anything can happen. And that's, to me, going under 9.5, it would have to be a lot of catastrophic things that we just can't get out of. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But the Packers, I'm assuming 10.5, just to see if they're above 9.5. The best players hurt.
They think they have an elite quarterback, which we both all know that's better. But it's interesting. T-Bass is complaining about money. Yes, T-Bass, we know you want to get your money's worth. For the team to get their money's worth. They've already paid him. It doesn't matter. He's getting the what the market dictates. Whether he lives up to it or exceeds it, that's different. Just like J.J. McCarthy.
You talking about? Oh, he's talking about
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. J.J., the other J.J.
2 touchdowns last year?
You don't, I mean, you all don't think he's worth it? Good.
No, I think he's worth it, without a doubt. I'm just telling you, T-Bass's how he views it most of the time, or at least it conveys to me that's how he views it.
You throw him the ball, he's going to catch it. I mean, that's how he delivers his worth. I mean, also true, he does dress like a Beatle.
Yes.
Ringo.
Biggs, I hear you. But I don't know. Now, is there anything happening in Chicago at the OTAs we should know about? Pay?
The only big news so far, in fact, I don't think Chicago, we don't even report until the first, but going into the OTAs, Kyler Gordon, he's hurt again. Not good. Soft tissue injury again. And just like last year, they're being very cryptic on what type of soft tissue injury. It's just like Jalen Johnson. He came into training camp. Oh, he's hurt. We don't know. We're not going to be definitive on what kind of injury it is. We're not going to say what kind of timetable it is. But the words they use, he was out until week 3. And they're doing it again. They're just not giving us all the information, and these players are just getting hurt, doing God knows what when you're not even on the football field. If this is another groin injury, we're gonna have to have another talk. You guys got to start insuring your groins. You got to stop whatever you're doing in the off season. That's just messing up your groins. Stop. Shout out to Jalen Johnson because he got married, so I'm sure his groins are in good hands now. Good news for the Bears.
Okay.
He's like, nothing else to say about that.
Gentlemen, Foster, unless you got anything to add from your OTAs.
I mean, we got some storylines. We got a brand new offensive coordinator, so that's always a big deal. We've already had to get rid of one since Ben Johnson, so let's give it another shot. We got some defensive changes. We're moving from the 4-2-6, if my math is correct, to the base 4-3. So that's something that is different with our DC. They did make it to this year, Kelvin Shepard. Got to see how it's going to look for Penei Sewell over on the right, on the on the left side of the left side of the offense. And obviously, Mr. Miller's taking over, Blake Miller's taking over the right side. Outside of that, obviously got some rookies coming into camp. So that's always getting the first look at those guys is always something to see. So yeah, outside of that, improvements for the second year guys. Tyleek Williams and Isaac Tesla, he's got a bigger role this year, and everybody else. So just the basic, run-of-the-mill storylines to keep an eye on.
Yep. And OTAs will run through next month, and then we'll get the month off of not doing anything. Except for watching the police blotter to see if any more Packers get on it. With that, any final words, gentlemen?
That's it.
Where can they find you, Pay?
Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan Channel, where we get all the Chicago content, sports and otherwise, located on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all the such. Check us out.
Foster, where can they find you?
Bleachers to Speakers. You can Google us. We will pop up. Subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of Detroit sports topics that we touch on. Road to 1,000, trying to make that push. And, June may have a new schedule soon. So maybe we can get in some more shows. I don't know about the NFC North on Wednesdays, but, we do have we did finally break down the schedule. So that show is out there. And every Sunday, breaking down the Tigers as they break me down emotionally.
On Vikings versus Skull, we'll have Tyler tomorrow at 6:05 Central, and I'm sure he's going to be talking OTAs, and then Darren and myself on 2 Bloggers on the weekend, and we'll be covering all the happenings in Vikings land over the week in the long form format that we do. With that, gentlemen, what do you say in Chicago?
Bear down.
Let's see if I can get the Bears. Like that? Foster, what do they say? Detroit. One pride. And of course, in Minnesota, we say Skol Vikings. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Thank you for listening to this NFC North group effort on the Fans First Sports Network. This has been a Frustrated Chicago Sports Fans, Bleachers to Speakers, Vikings First and Skull, and of course, the Fans First Sports Network production. Thank you for listening.